The cold hit Maribel first. It wasn't the gentle chill of an autumn day. It was a sharp, biting cold that snaked through the gaps in the cabin's thin walls. The heavy oak door stood wide open, showing a terrifying slice of gray, dying forest. In the doorway stood Calla, her own daughter. Calla's face was a mask of hard, chilling calm. She wasn't wearing a coat, as if the freezing air couldn't touch her. "Calla, honey, please close the door." "Your father, he's cold," Maribel whispered. Her voice cracked. In the corner, huddled under a single, threadbare blanket, her husband Jareth coughed. It was a weak, wet sound. Calla looked past her mother, her eyes landing on the man slumped against the wall. There was no pity in her gaze. Only an emptiness that felt colder than the wind. "He deserves to be cold," Calla said. Maribel stumbled forward, her hands outstretched. "What are you talking about? What is this?" "You said it was a surprise, a place to heal." "It is a place to end," Calla replied. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, heavy-looking padlock. "You always said you two were inseparable. That your love was a fortress." Maribel's breath caught. She finally saw it. The few cans of beans on the counter. The tiny pile of firewood. The single jug of water. This wasn't a supply. It was a cruel gesture. "Calla, no. You can't." Maribel lunged for the door. Calla simply stepped back, out onto the porch, letting the freezing wind blast into the room. With a final, decisive movement, she pulled the heavy door shut. Maribel slammed her fists against the wood, screaming. She heard the rattle of the chain, and then the final, metallic click of the padlock snapping shut. They were locked in. Silence fell, broken only by the howl of the wind. From the corner, Jareth spoke. His voice was not weak. It was clear, quiet, and terrifying. "Maribel," he said, pushing the blanket away. His eyes were burning. "We're going to start over." 3 months earlier, Maribel was wiping a counter. Their small kitchen in the city was filled with tension. Jareth was on the phone in the living room, his voice a low, charming rumble as he talked to investors. Calla sat at the table, her laptop open. She looked tired. Dark circles lived under her eyes. "Mom, we need to talk about the bills," Calla said, her voice quiet. "The loan for the house, it's just a lot." Maribel stopped wiping. "I know, honey. Your father's new project is just about to take off." "He said so." "He's been saying that for a year," Calla snapped, then immediately softened. "I'm sorry. It's just. I'm paying for my apartment, and I'm covering more and more here. I'm drowning, Mom." Maribel came over and rubbed her daughter's shoulders. She was the peacemaker. She had always stood between her charming, dreamer husband and her practical, worried daughter. "It will be okay," she soothed. Jareth walked in, ending his call. He smiled, a brilliant flash that always lit up the room. "Great news. Things are moving." He kissed Maribel's head and glanced at Calla's screen. "Still crunching those numbers?" "Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll take care of you both." Calla just stared at him. "That's what you always say." "And I always do," he said, his smile tightening. He opened the fridge, his back to them. Maribel watched the silent battle between them. She wanted to believe Jareth. She had to. Later that night, Calla was asleep on the sofa, her laptop still open. Maribel went to close it, but an email had just popped up. It was from a bank. The subject line was final, foreclosure notice. Maribel just found out they're losing the house. The foreclosure notice felt like a punch. Maribel's first instinct was to wake Calla. To cry. Instead, she quietly closed the laptop. She would confront Jareth. She found him in their bedroom, not sleeping, but packing a small duffel bag. Jareth? What are you doing? He jumped, startled. Maribel! You scared me. I'm just getting ready for an early start. A quick trip. Investor meeting. We're losing the house, she said, her voice flat. She held out the printed notice she'd grabbed from the desk. Jareth's charm vanished. His face went cold. Give me that. He snatched the paper, crumpled it. Calla and her snooping. It's a misunderstanding. I'm handling it. By packing a bag? Maribel's heart was hammering. Jareth, what is going on? I'm fixing it, he yelled, then lowered his voice. Look, Maribel. Things are complicated. I have a plan. A way for us to start over. Just us. Away from all this. He pulled her close. This house is a burden. Calla is a burden. All this debt. I found a place. A simple place. Just for you and me. Maribel's fear melted, replaced by a wave of guilty relief. He wasn't leaving her. He was saving them. A simple place? What about Calla? She's an adult. She'll be fine, he said dismissively. This is about us. He smiled, and she believed him. She had to. 2 months later, Calla drove them. She said she had found a cabin, a surprise getaway to fix things. Maribel thought it was Calla's apology. She didn't realize Calla had found Jareth's duffel bag. She didn't realize Calla had read his secret plan. Calla used her father's own escape plan against him. Back in the frozen cabin, Maribel stared at her husband. What did you say? We're going to start over, Jareth repeated. His face was different. The panic Maribel felt was gone from him. He was calm. Calculating. She locked us in. Maribel shrieked, slamming her hands on the door. Calla! Calla! She's gone, Maribel. Stop it. You're wasting energy. Jareth was already surveying the room. He ran his hand over the meager supplies. She did us a favor. Cut the cord. She left us to die. She left us to live, he snapped. No more bills. No more Calla's whining. Just us. He walked to the corner of the small, one-room cabin. He kicked at a loose floorboard near the empty fireplace. Jareth, what are you doing? We have to break a window. We have to get out. Shut up, Maribel, and watch. He pried the board up with his pocket knife. Underneath was a small, oilcloth-wrapped bundle. Maribel gasped. Jareth unwrapped it. Inside was a thick wad of cash, a small map, and a set of keys. What is that? Maribel whispered, dread seeping into her bones. That, Jareth said, pocketing the cash, is our new life. I've been planning this for months. This cabin, this was my idea. Maribel felt sick. You are going to bring me here? Jareth's eyes met hers. They were cold. Calla just sped up the timeline. She even locked the door for me. He jangled the keys. She just doesn't know what these are for. Jareth had this planned all along. The keys, Jareth explained, were for the ATV hidden in the shed out back. The plan was to wait out any search, then ride to a bus station 2 towns over. But Calla, she'll come back. She'll worry, Maribel said, her voice weak. No, she won't, Jareth said. She did this to hurt me. She thinks we're trapped. Let her think it. He was almost giddy. For 3 days, they survived. The small pile of wood dwindled. The cold was a constant ache. Maribel was terrified. Jareth seemed content. He was in control. On the fourth morning, there was a sound. A heavy, rhythmic thudding. Maribel's heart leaped. Calla! She's back! She ran to the door, but Jareth grabbed her. Quiet! Get back! The thudding was an axe, splitting wood. It was close. A man's voice grunted with the effort. Jareth dragged Maribel to the small, dirty window. Through the grime, they saw a large man in a plaid jacket. He was stacking wood on their porch. The man, Lowell, was a neighbor from a mile down the mountain. He'd seen the smoke from their chimney. Hello in there! Lowell called out, his voice a deep rumble. Heard someone was in the old Miller cabin. Just dropping off some real firewood. This wind is no joke. Maribel opened her mouth to scream for help. Jareth's hand clamped over it, his fingers digging into her cheek. Thank you, friend. Jareth shouted, his voice muffled by the door. We're fine. Just a couple on a private getaway. Appreciate the kindness. Lowell paused, then nodded to the empty air. All right, then. Stay warm. He turned and walked away. Maribel was shaking. Jareth let her go. She stared at him, horrified. He'd just trapped her all over again. That was her chance. Why is Jareth so desperate to stay hidden? The new firewood gave them time. But it was a prison. Jareth was happy, playing house. Maribel was dying inside. You let him walk away, Maribel whispered that night. The fire cast shadows that danced on Jareth's face. He's a witness, Jareth said simply. He'd tell Calla. He'd tell the police. We're missing, Maribel. We're dead. That's how we start over. Free. This isn't freedom, she cried. This is a cage. And Calla, what did we do to her? What did you do? Jareth's face darkened. I gave that girl everything. I built a life for us. You lost our house. You were running. That money, was it ours? It's mine, he hissed. I earned it. I was going to leave, but I was going to take you with me. Maribel searched his eyes. Were you? He looked away. That was her answer. The man she loved for 30 years was a stranger. A liar. He fell asleep first, his breathing heavy. Maribel stayed awake, feeding the fire. She was trapped with a man she now feared. She had to know. She quietly went to his duffel bag, the one he'd packed in their old life. She dug past the clothes. Her fingers brushed something hard. A small, second phone. A burner phone. She took it to the corner, shielding its light. She pressed the power button. It lit up. And so did the lock screen. It was a photo. Jareth, smiling on a beach. With a younger, dark-haired woman. The name Naoma was written in the sand at their feet. He wasn't going to take Maribel. He was starting over with her. The name Naoma burned into Maribel's brain. This was the new life. This was the woman her husband was running to. Jareth wasn't just a dreamer. He was a thief. He hadn't been saving them. He had been leaving her. Calla hadn't locked Maribel in with her husband. She had locked her in with her replacement's boyfriend. A cold, hard anger replaced Maribel's fear. It made her strong. She put the phone back. She would wait. But the mountain had other plans. The next day, the wind changed. The temperature plummeted. And Jareth started coughing. At first, it was the same weak cough from the first day. But it grew. It became a deep, rattling sound that scared Maribel. By nightfall, he was burning up. He was shivering under all their blankets, his teeth chattering. He was delirious. Naoma, he mumbled, his eyes rolling. The boat, waiting. Have the money. Maribel stood over him. This was it. This was her chance. She could just stop. She could stop feeding the fire. She could let the cold do its work. She could take the money and the ATV keys. She could walk out of here and start over for real. He was a monster. He deserved this. Jareth's eyes snapped open. He didn't see her. He looked terrified. Maribel, don't. Please. It's so cold. His voice was a whimper. It was the voice of the man she'd married, not the monster who'd betrayed her. She looked at the fire, then at Jareth. She couldn't. She wouldn't be him. Maribel took the last of their water and tore a strip from a blanket. She dipped it in the cold water and placed the rag on his forehead. Shut up, Jareth, she whispered. And live. Maribel made her choice. But what happens when he gets better? Calla drove for 12 hours. She ended up in a motel in a different state. The small, heavy padlock was in the passenger seat, mocking her. She hadn't planned it. Not like this. She had found the bag. The money. The fake ID. The phone. She saw the texts from Naoma. She saw the plane tickets, for two. But the second ticket wasn't for her mother. It was for Jareth and Naoma. He was going to drain their accounts, let the house go into foreclosure, and leave them both. He was leaving her mother to deal with the fallout. So Calla acted. She found the cabin. She used his own escape plan. She drove them there. She thought she was saving her mother. She thought her mother would see him for who he was. That they would be free of him. But now, the image of her mother's terrified face haunted her. The sound of the click echoed in her ears. She had left her mother to die. To get rid of one monster, she had become one herself. She picked up her phone. She had to call someone. The neighbor, Lowell. His number was on a flyer at the local diner. He watched the properties. She dialed. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. Mr. Lowell, she said, her voice breaking. This is Calla. I made a terrible mistake. Calla is trying to fix it. But is it too late? Jareth was weak. The fever had broken, but he was a shadow. Maribel was in charge now. She fed him sips of broth from the last can. She kept the fire roaring. She also kept his burner phone in her pocket. He watched her. The arrogance was gone. He looked old. Maribel, he rasped. You saved me. I saved myself, she said, not looking at him. I'm not a murderer. When I'm stronger, we'll go, he said. We can still start over. Maribel laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound that filled the cabin. Start over? With Naoma's money? His face went pale. I don't know what you... I saw the phone, Jareth. The tickets. The beach. I know everything. She pulled out the phone. Calla knew too, didn't she? That's why she did this. She wasn't trying to abandon me. She was trying to save me from you. The truth hung in the air, terrible and final. Jareth said nothing. He had no more lies. Maribel held the phone. She had a plan. She walked to the window, holding the phone high. She'd been checking it every hour. 1 bar. A single, weak bar of signal. "What are you doing?" Jareth whispered, panicked. "I'm starting over," Maribel said. She powered on the phone. Her hands were steady. She dialed 3 numbers. Just as she hit send, the cabin door burst open. The heavy padlock was gone. Lowell, the neighbor, stood there, his face grim. Behind him, Calla was sobbing. "Mom! Mom, I'm so sorry." Maribel looked at Calla. At Lowell. At her husband. And then she put the phone to her ear. "Yes," she said into the phone. "I'd like to report a crime." She made the call. "It's all coming to an end." The crime Maribel reported was fraud. Financial ruin. Theft. Jareth was too weak to run. He was arrested in his sickbed. Lowell and Calla watched as police led him out. He didn't look at his wife. Calla was also arrested. Kidnapping. Reckless endangerment. Maribel sat on the porch, wrapped in a police blanket, as they took her daughter away in handcuffs. Calla finally met her eyes. Maribel just nodded. It was the hardest thing she had ever done. 6 months later, Maribel sat in a new apartment. It was small. It was clean. It was all hers. Jareth was convicted. The money from the floorboards and from Naoma's accounts was evidence. He would be in prison for a long time. Calla's story was more complex. Maribel testified. She told the truth. About Jareth's abuse. About the foreclosure. About the desperation. Calla received a suspended sentence. Mandatory therapy. There was a knock on Maribel's door. Calla stood there, twisting her hands. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, Calla," Maribel said. She stepped aside to let her in. The silence was heavy. They sat at a small kitchen table. "I'm so sorry, Mom," Calla whispered. "I'll never forgive myself." "I know," Maribel said. She reached across the table and put her hand over Calla's. "I'm sorry, too. I'm sorry I never saw him. I'm sorry I let you stand between us. It wasn't fixed. It wasn't perfect. The scars were deep." "So," Calla said, trying to smile. "What now?" Maribel looked out the window. The sun was shining. She had a job at the local library. She had her own name on the lease. "Now," Maribel said, pouring them both a cup of coffee. "We start over." A powerful ending. This story shows that starting over means something different for everyone. If you were moved by Maribel's journey, share this story, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.